Hey, kids, it's the Matt Murphy Radio Show getting underway for another day. Allow me to inundate you with the pleasantries, and we'll get this thing lumbering under its own weight. A good afternoon. It's 12:04. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're safe and warm and dry. More nasty weather coming later on this afternoon, if not already here for parts west of us, west of Nashville. It is our episode 494 of these proceedings on Super Talk 99.7 WTN, and I'm so pleased that you've decided to join us today on this Thursday, January 18, 2024. It is January 18th, which means it is Dolly Parton birthday eve. Can I get a little horn there? Can we try out our new horn? You got our new horn there? It is Dolly Parton birthday eve. Official. Without question. Thank you. That's our new horn.
Couldn't find it. I forgot where I put it.
It's our new announcement horn. Do it again because Dolly deserves it. She needs... When you do Dolly's horn, do two of them. Always two of them. Two big horns. Yes, thank you. We don't celebrate Friday Eve, which some people tell me that it's all... Oh, jeez. I did that to myself. Didn't I? I did. We don't celebrate Friday Eve. We certainly do celebrate Dolly Parton birthday Eve because Dolly is having a birthday tomorrow, and we are celebrating said birthday tomorrow. Stay tuned for that.
Was she like 51?
I don't know.
52?
I think I think she's 78.
Is she? I was being facetious, but I was going to say guess 74.
She looks great. She's an American treasure. She should be singing the national anthem at the Super Bowl and not that stupid Reba McEntire, but more on that later on today.
Wow.
As we,
was Matt Murphy, host of the show. No need to call in about it. Just Matt at Super Talk 997.
I'm not hating. I'm just telling you I'm
not hating. I'm just hating.
I mean, what's worse, that I say that I'm not a fan of Reba McEntire or Chris Hand saying that he's not a fan of the Statue of Liberty?
In this town, Reba McEntire.
Probably so. I will give it to Chris Hand because I actually came with a defense of the Statue of Liberty today for those that need to hear it. I mean, why I did that, I don't know. But I did. I mean, because if you're not a fan of the Statue of Liberty, I mean, I don't know what to talk to you about. But you know what? Hey, you know what Hand is a fan of? And I got him because I asked him if he was a fan of trolls. And he knew that I knew exactly what he was doing this morning. And if you missed it, it was right at the conclusion of Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis. You miss a moment on Super Talk 99.7 WTN, and you miss a lot. All right, so it is the 18th of January. We invite you to listen or tune in any way possible. You can do so on the radio, obviously, at 99.7 FM. You're also invited to be a part of the show and take us wherever you go via internet streaming. And really, the platforms are available to you. Whatever streaming platform you utilize for news, information, conversation, or music, you can find us on those platforms. Just type in Supertalk 99.7 WTN. Matter of fact, we have our own. If you desire to do that, just go to your app store and type in Supertalk 99.7 WTN. You can find us there, download us, and take us where you go. There's also Supertalk TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. Supertalk TV, available, up and running. It is episode 494, and today's episode is entitled
Matt Murphy Show, Snails, coffee, cigarettes, and no deodorant. Libertarian lunch, noon to 3 p.m. No croissants.
Little French reference there.
Statue of Liberty.
I will give you a hot take on this. The French get much maligned, and rightly so. Bell K, Matt Murphy, and Mac Maury could grab a couple of knives and a pistol and go take over the country in about, a month. That's the feeling that we have about that. The French are maligned for good reason, but they also have contributed. I mentioned the bikini. That's an important contribution to world affairs, in my opinion. They gave us photography, which by extension, they gave us the selfie, which could be considered a negative nowadays. Rubber. Like modernized rubber came from France originally. They were the first to discover, naturally occurring rubber and its uses. Modern dentistry came from France. And the aspirin. And that's just to name a few things. I mean, I could go on and on and on. I mean, the bicycle, the steamboat, whatever.
So dentistry made it all the way to the States, but it never made it to England?
Yeah, something. I think they were in one of their wars, one of their multiple conflicts over the years. And
you get your filthy hygiene out of our country.
That's right. So the French, I mean, that's probably how the British beat the French, is the French were busy brushing their teeth on their bicycles, planning their steamboat trips and their hot air balloon rides. I mean, the French were all about some leisure. I'll tell you that. The bicycle and the hot air balloon, they're all about some leisure at various points in history. So anyway, we'll get into a lot of things today, not having to do with the Statue of Liberty and not having to do with France, but having to do with affairs right here in the United States of America. Primarily, Democrats, this subject came up on Nashville's morning news because of a Democrat's desire to topple the Statue of Liberty, apparently. Democrats are now saying that, well, you know, we can just get rid of this. I'm looking for the story here, and I've now lost it because I closed it down because Fox News sucked so much energy out of my computer that it died yesterday. I'll get it for you here in just a second and get it up and running. But I forget his name. The Democrat in question is now questioning whether or not the Statue of Liberty is still a viable option for us because Democrats have a difficulty understanding the difference between legal immigration and immigration policy and border security and making sure that Americans are safe first. It's not a difficult concept to understand. Even those of you listening in Aniana can get it. But border security is one thing, okay? Making sure that ne'er-do-wells aren't coming into our country to do bad things, like sell fentanyl to your children and killing them, like smuggling your children or smuggling other human beings, like peddling drugs to our youngsters in our communities, or generally speaking, engaging in acts of terrorism or dastardly acts against the spirit and the fabric of the United States of America. That's one thing. The other thing is an immigration policy by which we put America first and we put our interest first in line with regard to whether or not we allow people into the United States. We can have an immigration policy that is structured in such a way that we ensure that it is in the best interest of the United States first and foremost. What we can't do is have an immigration policy that considers the person first before the country, because if you do that, you might as well have Joe Biden's policy of let everybody in and to hell with the United States of America, and we'll figure it out. And if we become third world, so be it. I mean, hell, Joe will be dead by then anyway, right? We'll outlast him, I would assume. So that's that take. The GO primary is over. Sadly, there are people that do not know it. The GO primary is over, and, you know, there's been a lot of discussion and consternation about what should some of the primary challengers to Donald J. Trump do. Trump, of course, appearing in New Hampshire last evening alongside Vivek Ramaswamy. Vivek Ramaswamy going all in on Trump very early on. The only way that this is a horse race in any form or fashion, let me give you my quick analysis on this. We'll start the show this way. The only way that this is a race as we move forward is if one of the other two drop out, and they won't do that. So you have Donald Trump leading nationally and state by state, and in most cases, Donald Trump has in excess of 50% of the vote. He has a little less than that in New Hampshire, but that stands to reason. New Hampshire is a different kind of place. South Carolina, over 50%, despite the fact that Nikki Haley led that state for 8 years as governor. And then on and on and on down the line. In every Republican primary you look at, in Tennessee, no exception, Donald Trump is well in the lead, well ahead of either of his two main challengers. I guess, are there only two left? Asia Hutchinson dropped. Obviously, Vivek dropped. Chris Christie dropped. That's it, right?
So yes, DeSantis and Haley.
So when asking the question, and you'll hear this a lot over the next week or so in anticipation of New Hampshire, is this a done deal? Is it a fait accompli? And obviously it is. We know that. Whether or not DeSantis or Haley are willing to admit that to themselves, someone in their orbit knows that too. The only way, and I'm not saying I support, you know where I'm at on Trump. He will be the nominee. He will be my guy. He is my guy. I've loved the guy. That does not mean that he's not immune from criticism. I don't understand these folks that think that you have to declare fealty to Donald Trump in all things. I can like the guy and I can appreciate the candidate and I can believe in what he does for the United States of America and I can believe in the MAGA movement and at the same time take some exception with, certain aspects of his former presidency, or I can take exception with certain policies that the guy might have. I'll give you an example. I mean, I loved Donald Trump's first term. Donald Trump spent like a drunken sailor during his first term, and it wasn't just COVID. And that bothers me. He used the force and function of the federal government in a way that he overspent by trillions and trillions of dollars. If you, like me, believe that the number one existential threat to the United States of America outside of the immediacy of the southern border situation is our national debt, then you have to agree with me that Donald Trump did not do his job. Now, some would say, hey, we needed to give him time to do that, and I can understand that argument, and we can have a good discussion in that regard. All of that to say, I'm a Trump guy, and Donald Trump's going to be your nominee, and Donald Trump will, all things considered, dispatch of Joe Biden in the November elections. I believe that if it is a fairly contested election. So far be it from me to be the guy to give advice to a DeSantis or a Haley. I don't hate Ron DeSantis at all. I like Ron DeSantis' policy. I think Ron DeSantis has been a good governor of the state of Florida. He's been a horrible candidate. And those are two quite different things. Nikki Haley, it's a little bit different. Nikki Haley's kind of more of a bureaucrat Republican, if you will. I don't appreciate her foreign policy take. I think Nikki Haley is, and all things considered, these are action-based comments, not words. Nikki Haley is a hawk. Nikki Haley has not seen a foreign entanglement that she didn't like, and I don't appreciate that. I don't care for it. I do not believe that the United States of America should spill American blood for no good reason or American interest overseas. Now, and I think Nikki Haley is led around the nose by certain corporate types that make me uncomfortable. That said, I don't know that she's a bad human being necessarily. I think she's just easily led to policy positions based on where the money goes. That said, the reason this is over before the first primary vote is cast, set Iowa aside for a moment, is simple. Because one of the two does not have the wherewithal to get out of the way. The only way that either Ron DeSantis or Nikki Haley can compete with Donald Trump is if the other one is not around. One would presume that some of those votes would, by the way, I still don't think they would beat Donald Trump, even if that were the case. What I'm suggesting to you is this will be an embarrassment to both of them if both of them stay in the race. If one of them dropped out, one would presume that a lot of their votes, because let's be honest, how many of Ron DeSantis' supporters are supporting Ron DeSantis because they've really done a deep dive into his policies, and how much of that support is because they get heartburn over Donald Trump? I mean, let's be honest. I mean, how many people are really, really supporting Nikki Haley as opposed to, I'm a conservative, I like Republicans, I vote Republican, but I don't like Donald Trump because I don't like this or that about him, or I don't like what he says, most of the support I would suggest to you for these other two candidates comes out of a hatred of Trump. And I think that's fair. So if DeSantis were to drop out, one would presume that a lot of his votes would go to Haley. Once again, I'm not saying I want this to happen. I'm saying I believe it's what would happen. Also, conversely, if Nikki Haley dropped out, I think a lot of her votes would go to Ron DeSantis, and you might have, something of a race that we could actually pay attention to over the next several weeks until Super Tuesday happens, and then Donald Trump is the eventual winner. I don't believe there's anything that my goal here in bringing this up is I want it to be interesting at very least. And right now, we're all just sitting around waiting for the primary to be over so we can get to the business of the general election and convincing our liberal Democrat friends that Joe Biden couldn't find his butt with a compass and a flashlight, and we need different leadership in Washington, D.C. All right, so that leads the show today at 12:19 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You had something for me?
Yeah, who do you think will end up dropping out first, DeSantis or Haley? Just your feeling.
DeSantis, because he's got something to do. And I don't know that DeSantis has quite. I don't know. I haven't seen the money. I would need to see the money. Nikki Haley's got whichever of the Koch brothers is still alive. She's got that money behind her.
Yeah.
And so she's got all the money in the world and all the time in the world. She's got nothing else to do. She has no bureaucratic corporate speeches to deliver for $100,000 at a clip. So she's got no boards to sit on right now. So this is all she's got to do right now. Ron DeSantis actually has a state that he can go back and run. And Ron DeSantis is not going to perform well at all in New Hampshire. Nikki Haley will. She'll come in second. DeSantis will also come in probably a distant third in South Carolina. Trump first, Haley second, just based on the fact that she's from there. And then DeSantis third. And after South Carolina, DeSantis will probably, seek higher ground. And so you're left with Nikki Haley. I don't know if Nikki Haley is at all interested in a role in the Trump administration. It doesn't seem the way that she's talked that she is. I thought she was I thought she did a fine job. She was ambassador to the United Nations. I don't really know what ambassador to the United Nations does. Do you? I don't.
Vetoes Russia and China's resolutions and then tells Trump she did it.
Right. In all seriousness, call me foolish. I don't know what they do. You sit there and you listen to these dictators.
It's a diplomatic PR job.
Yeah, exactly. It's a public relations gig. And you do what the president tells you to do in that regard. And so she did fine for what it is worth. I'm not bagging on her. I just think she's gotten a lot of bad advice. And, there are some that say she's not a good person. And that might be so. I don't know. I try not to make my judgments based on what other people say about other people. It's 1221, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We're up and running on the Super Talk text line, 615-737-9986. If you have any questions for Senator Bill Hagerty or Congressman John Rose, get them in, and we will ask said questions. We have Bill Hagerty coming on at 12:35 this afternoon in the Libertarian Lunchtime Hour. John Rose at about 1:35, and River the Wonder Dog, who Bell K hates. I don't know why.
That is not true. I
hate
love
this
him.
dog.
You're lying.
I think
you're lying to your audience.
Your cat fancy is coming out. By the way, I thought about this. I missed a great opportunity, and I'm not going to miss that opportunity next Christmas. Well, years ago, I gave a producer a certain gift, and I'm going to do it again to you. I'm going to get you a subscription to Cat Fancy.
Oh, I would love that.
I know you would.
That would be so cool.
I know you would, and it's why you don't like the dog.
Do you remember that book you got me? How to talk to your cat about gun control?
That's good. That's a pretty good. It's 12:22 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Stand by. Boo! Boo! I don't even know why we call it the Matt Murphy Show. We should call it the Bell K Show with your host, Matt Murphy. By the way, speaking of your host, Matt Murphy, I want to tell you about a wonderful thing for you to do for your family this January. It is involving Kraft Body Scan. So let's make 2024 the year of you. You always should make it the year of you. I've got a deal for you, a couple's heart and lung scan for only $149 at Kraft Body Scan. That is cheap, cheap, cheap. I mean, this is a value of well in excess of $2,000, especially considering that two of you will be put into a scanning machine. Now, this is a simple, non-invasive procedure. You don't have to take your clothes off. It's about 5 to 8 minutes. They'll do a CT scan. They'll check out that body. You can call now and book a very seamless and quick process and find out what's going on internally in your body before your body tells you what's going on and before it's a big deal. If you are proactive, then you can prevent larger issues down the road. Start the new year off the right way with a scan from Kraft Body Scan in Nashville. Go to craftbodyscan.com. That's craftbodyscan.com, or give them a call and schedule an appointment today. Heart disease is the number one killer in the United States of America. Lung cancer is the number one cancer killer in the United States of America. Let's get that heart and lungs checked out with Kraft Body Scan. Call them at 615-436-1000. Tell them I sent you, 436-1000. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Sometimes I see funny things right before I come back on air, and I apologize. It's rude. I shouldn't laugh right as I come back to you, but I could not help myself. I saw a headline, and the headline was, don't make me laugh. Hold on, I don't want to laugh. And by the way, it's the Matt Murphy Show. My name is Matt Murphy, or as we're going to start calling it, the Bell K Show with your host, Matt Murphy, because he won't stop playing that stupid Friday Eve thing.
I don't need that.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. You'd better take responsibility for this thing.
My name is not on the marquee. Yours is.
Your name's on the marquee. We just don't know how to spell it. The headline, I've had a lot, too. B-E-L-L. The K is what gets them. The K part is what gets them.
Yeah.
Headline, man trapped in bath. Hold on. Let me do it right. Take two. Doo-doo. Man trapped in plane bathroom for entire flight, says crew slipped him a note. Do not panic. Well, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, but what I'm going to do is tell you this story. This was on a flight involving an airline that I've never heard of before called SpiceJet. Have you ever heard of SpiceJet?
What are like flight attendants, like strippers?
I don't know. I don't
it's like
know.
Hooters Airlines, make the next step.
A traveler, this from Fox News, a traveler said he was traumatized, dazed, and injured after spending nearly the entirety of a domestic flight in it's India. It's an Indian flight. Spending the what in the hell? My apologies. I've gotten sadly, my computer is now. What is McAfee? No, see, this is McAfee horning in with an ad that acts like. Have you gotten these on your computer where it pops up? You've got security threats. You've got security threats, and it's blah, and it's like, no, I don't. You jerks.
It's probably a pop up from that page.
Yeah, it's Fox News, which is infamous for these things, and it's why Fox News drains your computer. And I hate the website, and I hate the anyway. Man trapped in airplane for the entire flight. Traveler says he was traumatized, dazed, and injured after spending nearly the entirety of domestic flight in India stuck inside of a SpiceJet airplane bathroom following a door malfunction. The low-cost Indian airline. You think our low-cost airlines are bad? Man, oh, man. Said the incident happened Tuesday in a flight that lasted around 1 hour and 45 minutes. The Indian newspaper, citing sources from the airport, it's what did we say we were going to call it when I couldn't pronounce things?
Googly Moogly.
Googly Moogly. The Googly Moogly International Airport, where the flight landed, said the passenger went to use the bathroom shortly after the plane took off. Attempts to open the door from the outside by the crew and other travelers were unsuccessful. I guarantee you there will be an Indian lawsuit as a result to all of this.
There must be something in the water over there, because did you see the story about the passenger who slapped the pilot after a 14-hour delay?
No.
Apparently they had been delayed off and on for 14 hours. He got mad. He wanted off the plane. They wouldn't let him off the plane, and he slapped the pilot. And then they let him off the plane so the cops could arrest him.
I guess a lot of these folks are drunk, but I don't understand for the life of me why. What you think you're going to accomplish by making an ass of yourself on an airplane. All right, we're going to accomplish a couple of advertisements, and then we'll speak with Senator Bill Hagerty. That's coming up in mere moments. Excited to talk to the good senator about some of the activities going on in Washington, D.C., to include budgeting, to include border security, amongst other things. It is 12:31 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. A lot of folks ask, why is it that my heater goes out at the worst possible time? Well, if you think about it, I think you'll figure this out, right? Your heater is working far more diligently, more desperately to keep up with the cold weather conditions. And so if there's already a problem there, those problems will get worse and your heater will go out on you. Well, luckily you have Efficient Heating and Cooling. Jeff Eddy and his team are ready, willing, and able to get to you jiffy quick. Efficient Heating and Cooling will get there. Oftentimes, same day, they will fix what ails your heater. They will not try to upsell you on any other item, and they will get out of your life, and your heater will work properly. That's what you want, right? For the lowest amount of money possible, which is why I like to remind you that Jeff Eddy does not charge extra if it's evening. He doesn't charge extra for weekends. The invoices remain the same. There's no overtime rates on those times because he knows your heater doesn't know what time it is when it finally does go out. Now, if it's a permanent situation, then they've got some solutions for you with a diamond contractor with Mitsubishi Electric, if you want to go that route, or an Elite Pro partner with Rheem, a wonderful brand there as well. Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling, they're here for you during these cold winter months. EfficientHVAC.net, EfficientHVAC.net, or give them a call at 615-784-4424, 784-4424 for Efficient. Super Talk 99.7 WTN 1236. Good afternoon. Matt Murphy and you. Libertarian Lunch in progress. We've got 2 more hours to go after that. Making way for the drive in Brian Wilson and anticipating some nasty weather coming through the state, which will be a wintry mix. Those are bad words because wintry mix means the possibility of ice on the roadways. We'll keep you alert to what you need to know about the roadways all afternoon long on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We also like to keep you alert to what's going on in Washington, D.C., and one of the people that helps us in that regard is Senator Bill Hagerty. He's always precious with his time, and I appreciate so much him making himself available to the listening audience and to the greater audience within Tennessee. Thank you, Bill, for being on with us. Senator, how are you?
I'm happy to be with you today, and I also just want to say a big shout-out to all of the folks that work for our electric utilities across the state. Certainly we know this is true in Middle Tennessee. You don't think about them, when things are working just right. But when we have tough weather like this, you've got them out in the very worst of conditions, making sure that our electricity is on, that we're, our gas is on, that things that are not working as they should are working. And I just want to say a big shout out and appreciation for them under this really severe weather. We've had some people really put it all on the line to make sure that folks are staying warm in Middle Tennessee.
No, it's well stated. It's well stated, and especially after some of the issues last year with some rolling blackouts or brownouts or whatnot, we've not had any of that this year. Even with the 8 degrees that we had a couple of nights ago, 1 degree and -1 in some parts. So
yes.
It's well spoken by you, Senator.
Well, I've been on a regular calls with TVA throughout the whole process, and they have really been focused on getting it right this time, and I applaud them for doing that as well.
Very well. Senator, let's talk about some of the goings-on in Washington, D.C. I want to start with some legislation particular to your office, and then I want to expand it to budget talks and the passage of some sort of CR by the Senate a couple of days ago. But first, let's start here. You announced your intention to introduce legislation that would put a citizenship question on the census so as to prevent non-citizens from being counted for congressional apportionment. This is one of the central reasons that I believe that the political left is allowing the southern border situation to occur in the way that they are. And so I applaud you for getting to some of the root cause of why they would want this to happen. One, I believe, is apportionment. The other, I think their ultimate goal is to have these folks incorporated into the fabric of America and eventually give them voting rights. Talk to us about your legislation.
Well, you're exactly right in terms of what their end goal is. They want every one of these people to, they call it a comprehensive immigration reform, which is their code word for mass amnesty and giving these people the right to vote. That is not the intent of the founders. But what we have is a situation in the United States today where congressional districts and therefore electoral votes are allocated based on the number of people in a given state, not the number of citizens. And you may recall, Matt, back before the 2020 census, the Trump administration tried to put a citizenship question on the census questionnaire, and the left went berserk. They blocked it. They did everything they could to stop it. My legislation is called the Equal Representation Act. It's going to put that citizenship question in place, and it's going to specifically prohibit non-citizens from being counted during the process of allocating or apportioning congressional districts and the electoral votes that are derived from that. This is about power at the end of the day. And what's happening in these blue states, Matt, you know as well as I do, because they're coming to Tennessee. They're leaving California. They're leaving New York. They're leaving Illinois. The sanctuary cities are located, guess where? Just like magnets for these illegal immigrants, because they promised not to enforce the immigration laws. New York City, Chicago, Los Angeles, San Francisco. This is a concerted plan, and the Democrats will talk like, oh, this is some type of conspiracy theory. Absolutely, this is the only thing that explains why they're willing to subject our nation to the bedlam at our border. Over 8 million people have invaded our country since Joe Biden has taken office. Fentanyl deaths are going through the roof. Look at crime in our major cities. The number of people that have come in here on the terrorist watch list, we don't even know who's here. But the national security risk that we're facing right now is enormous, and the Biden administration is willing to undertake all of that risk and all of this pain because they want to retain power.
So there were comments that were made by a representative out of New York that went viral recently when she said, this is Yvette Clark. She said, I need more people in my district just for redistricting purposes. And I think, Democrats, if anything, they're saying the quiet part out loud now, Bill, in as much as they're just declaring what their real intentions are. Their intentions are to bring people here to further strengthen blue states through redistricting, to weaken red states, and to weaken the voice of the American citizen. And I just find it shameful, and I find it shameful the reaction to your legislative proposal, because they're saying the usual things about, oh, this is xenophobic, or this is on some level racist. How do you respond to this nonsense?
I think it's just absolutely absurd. They always go to that. They always go to that place as quickly as they possibly can. The answer, what's it called, Matt? Occam's razor. The most straightforward answer is generally the correct one. Mm-hmm. This is a situation where the answer is clear. What they're trying to do is shore up their congressional representation. Instead of letting those congressional seats go to Tennessee, they want to retain them in California. And the way they've done it is by allowing massive illegal immigration. And if you look at the last census, the estimates are that California has several congressional seats that they would otherwise not be entitled to because of the existence of illegal immigrants in that state. They want to see that happen in New York, Illinois, other states that people are fleeing. Citizens are fleeing those states and coming to places like Tennessee that are soundly managed. And instead, what the Biden administration is doing, again, erecting these sanctuary cities, creating these magnets, and attracting these illegal immigrants into those cities.
What has been the reaction to your proposal?
Well, as you might imagine, it's fairly well divided along partisan lines.
Right.
The Democrats act like this is not a problem, even though, as you said, Representative Clark from Brooklyn said the quiet part out loud. She needs it for redistricting. All of them do in these states like New York, Illinois, California. They know what's going on. They know that's the game. And, it's my job to highlight it, to bring it to the fore, to put this legislation on the floor and really press them to deny it. We'll see how it goes, but I think, as you know, the Democrats are going to use every tool that's available to them to press to try to change the rules in their favor.
I mean, considering that the Democrats still control the gavel on the Senate side of things, I mean, you're a smart guy, Bill. You don't anticipate that this will actually get to the floor during this session of the Senate, but you do it to serve to highlight the issue moving forward to 2024, and hopefully we can re-up and double down on the issue when we do have a Republican majority in the Senate, correct?
Absolutely, Matt. And I think as the American public finds this out, whether you're Democrat, Independent, or Republican, it's not right to allocate congressional seats based on illegal immigrants. It's not right to allocate electoral votes along those lines. It's only a rank partisan maneuver that they're undertaking that's causing this. And it's time to stand up, call it out, and bring it to an end as soon as we can.
Our guest is Senator Bill Hagerty. We have him for a few more moments. Of course, Senator Hagerty always gracious with his time on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The Senate voted earlier this week to advance a short-term funding extension. I guess that vote happened Tuesday evening, which was a step to avert quote-unquote government shutdown. The vote was 68-13. I normally I know the answer to these questions before I ask them, but I don't know. Where were you on this? And tell me wherever you were, why you came to that conclusion.
That number is what they call a cloture vote. That was just to get on, so to speak, to get on the bill. I'm actually going right now into the Capitol.
Okay.
To vote, to actually kick the can down the road again and into early March. We got to stop doing this, but otherwise we're going to have a government shutdown. This is legislative malpractice from my perspective, according to Chuck Schumer, because he will not bring these bills to the floor, these appropriation bills that we've had done since July of last year. He wants to manufacture crises like this and create the environment so he can put together what they call an omnibus bill. You know what that is, Matt? But that's a massive 4,000-page document that we won't have had the time to read, and I'm not going to support that type of effort. Hopefully this will give us enough time to get our appropriations committees to vet these bills, to stop moving things forward with the unintended consequences that you could expect. We'll see if we get there this time, and if not, I think we're going to have a real battle on our hands up here.
Senator, I am often accused, and I don't want to do this, but I'm often accused of yelling at the good guys because the bad guys won't call me on the phone. I can't get Chuck Schumer on the phone to yell at him, so I got to yell at you a little bit. I mean, weren't we told in December that we were kicking the can down the road so we didn't have to kick the can down the road again?
That is the case, and Schumer has just, again, refused to cooperate at any level. We've had just a massive dysfunction up here. And again, this is the crises that he wants to create. We're going to continue to press. Even the people on his own team are now engaged trying to press him to come to bring these appropriations bills to the floor, to let us operate under what they call normal process, regular process, and let the committees do their work. We have whole staffs that are here designed to vet these bills. That's the only way we're going to begin to start cutting back and curbing this massive overspending that's taking place. And as you know, the Democrats, on a wholly partisan basis, without a single Republican vote, passed trillions of dollars in the last Congress of inflationary spending that we didn't need. And we don't have any ability to go in and trim that back if we don't go through regular order up here.
Well, I mean, the national debt is something that I talk about frequently, and sadly, it is met with a lot of silence. I think people have become almost immune or numb to the billions and billions and billions of dollars that we overspend on a daily basis. I know that you're not numb to that, Senator Hagerty. You recognize that at some point this will become financially insolvent. And it to me is the greatest, outside of the southern border crisis, the immediate crisis on the southern border. I believe our national debt is our greatest existential threat.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. And it's these sorts of processes and these sorts of crises that are being created by the Democrats that are getting in the way of us being able to address it. So we've got to bring it to an end. Again, I'm with you. The border crisis is something that is existential to America. The national security threats are just outrageous. But at the same time, we've got to deal with this debt. We've got to deal with it.
And I know you got a boogie, but in the last minute or so that we do have, I would want to reflect on the results in Iowa. It's pretty obvious to most of us observing the political proceedings that we have our guy in Donald Trump. I understand that votes need to be cast in New Hampshire. I don't want to put anything ahead of that, or South Carolina, but what were your takeaways from the results in the caucus in Iowa?
I think it was decisive for President Trump. That's the widest margin of victory we've seen. I think people are ready for a change, ready to get back to the economy that we had under President Trump, and they've had enough with Joe Biden, so we're ready to move on, and I think we will.
Thank you so much for your time, Senator. I know you've got to get to the vote. Take care, and we'll talk again very soon.
Thank you, Matt.
All right, take care. There's Bill Hagerty walking to the vote as we were speaking to him. I may have misspoke there when I noted that the Senate voted to advance. They did not do the final vote, and Bill kindly corrected me there, and I just want to make sure I correct myself. I misspoke it. They voted to advance a short-term funding extension Tuesday night. The vote was 63-13. Obviously, Hagerty's going to be in favor of it, kicking the can down the road. Now, we could. I don't agree with that. I'm not going to make enemies out of friends over this disagreement. At some point, you just have to stop playing ball with these people. At some point, we have to stop playing ball with these people. And I hear it over and over again. And I'm not knocking Senator Bill Hagerty. I appreciate his appearance on the show, and I appreciate what he means for the state of Tennessee and for the greater country at large. But, kicking this to March is not solving anything. And we were told in December, and I get it, well, we don't have control of the Senate. The Democrats have control of the Senate. But I've been doing this long enough that I remember times when they did have control of the Senate, and they didn't do anything about spending then either. And if there's one knock on President Trump's administration is the overspending. I'm not talking COVID spending. I'm talking pre-COVID overspending to the tune of trillions of dollars.
It's like Ryan put that giant budget together, and then Trump used the excuse of, well, we've got to get the military funded, but I won't do this again.
And I hear that over and over and over again. Not just from Hagerty. Once again, I'm not knocking present company, but all of my adult life, as I have been involved in politics, Republicans tell me, man, we got to get this spending under control. And then when they take control of the body, they just want to spend on their things. And typically it's military-based spending. The military cannot continue to be a sacred cow when it comes to spending.
Well, in my opinion, and maybe you can prove me wrong on this, but I don't think the military has ever been truly underfunded.
No.
They don't have a funding issue. They have a priorities issue. They want all the toys, and they want them all now.
And they get anything they want for any price that they want it. The contractors are never questioned because there's not real, genuine competition. There's not free enterprise competition amongst the military contractors that engage in some of these financial shenanigans. And so the price goes up, up, up. I mean, when I was a kid, it was the $8,000 Pentagon hammer. That hasn't stopped, folks.
And there was like a $1,800 toilet seat.
Yeah, something. Yeah, that's right. I mean, and those are real things, and they have not stopped. So we're not knocking military spending. Certainly not. We need a strong and robust military. We need to work smarter, but we also need to infuse a level of competition within the contracting of some of these items that the military claims to need so as to lower the cost of the military budget. The military budget is a huge expense in the United States of America. And I see Republicans all the time. They claim, oh, we're going to get the budgets under control. The budget's under control. And then when they bring up Social Security, they freak out because old people freak out, despite the fact that we've got to do something about that too. You bring up Medicare, Medicaid, which is another huge expense, and everybody. So no one wants to touch the things that are creating the dynamic by which we overspend to the tune of $1 trillion a year. And in the meantime, we just whistle past the graveyard.
Let's not forget the military, the Pentagon cannot pass an audit to the tune of trillions.
No. Yeah, I mean, they cannot account for this wasted money. And I don't mind turning these sacred cows into hamburger meat because they need to be turned into hamburger meat. It's high time that someone with some level of financial discipline, fiscal discipline, stood up. And hopefully that will be Trump in his new term. I am hopeful. He made the promise late before COVID that he was going to get on the ball when it came to budgets. He made that promise in 2019 and in early 2020, and then that was out of the window because of COVID-19. And all hell broke loose in March. Well, you got one more shot at it. I think you'll have one more shot at it, Mr. President. 1253, Super Talk 99.7. WTN. The Tennessee Men's Clinic is here for you, gentlemen. Let's talk about it. And I understand that these are some issues that are relatively sensitive, but we'll recognize that. We recognize, too, that as men get older, there are certain things that happen in their lives, and maybe you don't want to face those things. Maybe you just believe at the age of 50 you're going to lose energy level, that you don't have the energy to shovel the walkway when it snows, or you don't have the energy level to get to the gym, or maybe you don't have the wherewithal or the want to engage in bedroom activity. Whatever your loss might be, it could be due to a loss of T level, and if that is the case, you need to talk to the Tennessee Men's Clinic. There's nothing to deny, nothing to put off, and no shame in this game, nothing to be ashamed about. 50% of men deal with it at some point in their lives, so let's get it fixed. The guys at the Tennessee Men's Clinic are the ones that can fix it for you. Since 2014, they've been taking care of men just like you. For over a decade, the urologists and providers at the Tennessee Men's Clinic have done this all day, every day. They are experts in the field. Many men come in after other things have failed them, and you can get in there and get your solution without the need for surgery and without the need for just having to live that way. That's what it's all about at the Tennessee Men's Clinic. Go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com for more information. TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. It's time to get that energy level back to where it should be. It's time to feel amazing again, guys. Tennessee Men's Clinic. Give them a call and schedule an appointment. 615-208-9090. 208-9090.
Atuma.
Gentlemen, first impressions mean a lot, and if your first impression leaving folks with wondering where all of your hair went, then I have a solution for you. I mean, let's just be honest, okay? When people meet you, I mean, it's tough to avoid that thinning hair. It's tough to avoid seeing that receding hairline, and I don't mind to call it like I see it. So I've been blessed without hair loss. I've not had any hair loss. However, I'm not immune from it as well. And so I'm talking with the team at PAI and We Grow Hair about doing laser treatments as a preventative to make sure that I don't have to worry about that going down the road. That's what it's all about, folks. So whether it's preventative maintenance at PAI or if you've already lost some and you want to talk to them about how to get that hair back, how to get a robust hair growth going, then it's time to talk to PAI and We Grow Hair. They're the only company in the state to have PAI's multi-unit hair grafting procedure. It's a trademark procedure which gives you more hair in one procedure than any other thing out there. It saves you time. It saves you money. It's backed by the only company that I will trust with my hair that you should trust with your hair, PAI and We Grow Hair. For over 26 years, they've been helping people look their best and feel better. It gives you confidence when you go to PAI. So check out their website at wegrowhair.com. That's wegrowhair.com. You'll see some of the amazing results. I'll continue to report to you about my progress, or you can call for an appointment today, 615-376-6010, 376-6010 for a private consultation, wegrowhair.com. It is 1:06 and a good afternoon. Welcome back. It's the Matt Murphy Radio Show, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Glad you have decided to join us this afternoon. Nasty weather moving in. Let's give you a look. I'm going to go directly to, by the way, later on this hour, 1:35 to be precise, Congressman John Rose will join us. Give us an update as to what is going on in Washington, D.C., and whether or not the House of Representatives, under the leadership of Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, is preparing to authorize an extension of government funding in a manner that they promised that they would not do. The Senate has already kind of given up because the Democrats control the Senate. Remains to be seen what happens in the House of Representatives. We'll get an update from Congressman John Rose coming up in about 30 minutes or so. In the meantime, I'm looking at a wintry mix over Nashville, Tennessee right now. Although, looking out of doors, I do not see a lot falling. The radar indicates that there is a wintry mix falling now to the east of Nashville in the Lebanon area. We're looking at rain mostly. To our north, and that would be, Gallatin and Portland and Springfield and Clarksville, there are patchy areas of snow. But for the most part, I'm just going to pop some areas for you. Goodlettsville, Nashville, Bellevue, Brentwood, Dixon, etc. We're looking at a wintry mix right now. And a wintry mix means that the roadways could get quite slick because you put a little down and then the temperatures go down 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 degrees. And then before you know it, you're dealing with icy roads. I'm just getting a report from the Red-Headed Stranger. She indicates that it is falling in Old Hickory, and it's kind of frozen what is falling. So also the temperatures right now are at we're just right there on the line. It's 33. I'm looking at a temperature of 33 degrees in my location on Music Row. Could be a little less than where you are, or where you are could be a little more based on where you are. And I'm talking about up or down on the thermometer. And with that, you either get rain, you get a mix, or you get snow flurries. Right now, not a lot coming down at the radio station, but that could change at any second. It probably is a little bit different in your location. So we're keeping up on that, making sure that we keep you up to date with the weather situation. Suffice it to say, if you're working in the office, just be aware of the situation because the possibility exists that you might have to get home sooner rather than later. We don't want the roadways to degrade. Now, the roads, I'll tell you this, if you have been working from home, I saw a Fox 17 poll. Where are you working this week? And only 15%, I think that's right, 15% indicated that they were working in the office this week. Around 40% said they were working from home. And, like 30% said, I'm not working this week. To hell with it. We called it a week on Tuesday. Some people have done that. And if you can, good on you. Because it's a pretty dangerous drive, or at least it was earlier in the week. The roads look good. And, it's often the case that when we talk about organizations like NES, when you talk about TVA, we're being critical. But I'm not going to be critical of TVA. I think they did a good job. I saw no brownouts. Did you see any brownouts? Did you see any blackouts? We saw that the last winter storm last year that happened in December of 2022. And for some, it was a very frustrating process. I never lost power. Did you ever lose power in 2022?
Yes.
When they were doing those brownouts?
I did. But not. I think it was one time for a couple hours.
It's got to be frustrating, though.
Can you imagine being one of the NES workers out there repairing lines and stuff in this weather? You got to be a hardy individual to be able to do that work.
Well, there's no question. And this week, it's just been one on top of the other, on top of the other, on top of the other. 5364 said we had 2 brownouts for about 15 minutes each in Madison. 0397 says out here in Lebanon, just a mist at the moment. 8410 says Greenbrier, the weather is up here now. Pellet snow and rain equals ice. And then 3618 says Matthew. This might be trouble when I get called by the full Matthew. Matthew, let me ask you a question. What would happen if we abolished parties? No more Democrats, no more Republicans. Just the individual who is the best for the job gets elected. Political parties are affiliations of individuals who are like-minded, who collectively gather to decide what their policy positions or ideological positions are going to be on certain matters. If you abolished political parties, within 10 years, you would have political parties. Now, I don't belong to any of these groups. I was talking to Mr. Hand about a couple of things during the break, during the transition before we started the show at 12 o'clock. And, Chris and I were discussing, Chris is obviously affiliated with Turning Point USA. I'm not knocking Turning Point USA when I say this, but I use them as an example. If I have any gaps in my knowledge about politics, it is in regard to these groups. Group affiliation is of no interest to me. Never has been. I am fiercely independent in action, thought, and deed. And I'm not knocking it if you're not, but I am. And so you see some sub-affiliations within the Republican Party. You see sub-affiliations within the Democrat Party. You've seen efforts over the years to try to generate support for third-party politics. However, if there's anything the Republicans and the Democrats can agree on, it's that they don't want a third party. And so when you get those two organizations behind the same premise that they need to stop the third-party politics, they often stop the third-party politics. Why do I describe myself as a libertarian with a small L? Because I believe in the libertarian philosophy of government, and I do not belong to the Libertarian Party for 2 reasons. 1, because I wouldn't belong to any group that would have me as a member. Thank you, Groucho Marx. Number 2, the Libertarian Party is just ridiculous.
It's a clown show.
It is a clown show. So they can't get out of their own way. And they have every opportunity to advance the cause of liberty and freedom around the globe, and they just spit the bit at every opportunity. Where's our Javier Milei? Where is our Javier Milei? Did you see his speech? By the way, I'm squirreling myself. Squirrel!
The World Economic Forum?
We ought to play it.
Oh, hold on. That was a politician got up in front of people he knew disagreed with him and basically said, you were all a bunch of idiots.
Yep.
And it was a beautiful thing.
Everything you're doing is leading us to a failed system of socialism that we see real-world examples of how it has failed the people that it claims to serve. Why are you doing this except for your own power and control? Why are you doing this in the name of the people when you very well know that it will not help the people? More on that later. Back to the point. So when you ask me about political party affiliation, I point to examples of how we subdivide even within the political parties. And you have organizations like Turning Point USA or organizations like Americans for Prosperity and others. I don't knock any of these organizations. They're all well and good. I don't invest time to investigate any of these organizations either. So I'm not the one to ask about whether they're good or they're bad or whether, their endorsements are good or they're bad. I don't believe in endorsements either. So when you broaden that out and ask about political party affiliation, I would suggest a couple of things. One, I don't have a problem with dismantling the political parties for what it's worth. George Washington believed that political partisanship and siloing ourselves into corners, I mean, he didn't call it echo chambering, but that's what it is. He believed that it would be the doom of the United States of America and our experiment that was going on during his lifetime. That said, if you dismantled them today, you would have them tomorrow. People are going to naturally gravitate to like-minded people in an attempt to collectively advance what they're trying to accomplish. It makes sense. So I think in concept it sounds great. Let's eliminate political parties and just have the best person win. Political party affiliation in some ways allows people to be less invested in the politics of their community or the politics of their state or the politics of their country, in as much as they feel comfortable that they affiliate more with Republicans than with Democrats or more with Democrats than Republicans. So they feel comfortable if they don't know about a race or if they don't know about a candidate, if that candidate has an R behind his name or her name or a D behind his or her name, they feel more comfortable in voting for that candidate. That leads to apathetic, ill-informed voting. And it leads to major discussions on radio shows like this about rhinos, for example. What's a Republican? What's not a Republican? What really constitutes being a good Republican versus being a not-so-good Republican? And I just get sick of it. I get absolutely sick of it because I don't live and breathe in any of it. I evaluate candidates based on their positions on the issues, not based on necessarily what's behind their name. Although I have found over the years that I'm going to vote for a Republican 100 times out of 100 over a Democrat because of their value systems inherent within their political affiliation. It's a long way to answer a simple question that if you eliminated political parties tomorrow, you would have political parties day after tomorrow. It is human nature to gravitate to that which we agree. 18 after the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. In the meantime, we've got several folks giving a big kudos to TVA, giving kudos to NES. Thank you so much. Once again, we are quick to criticize when the power goes out. For a long time, I picked on, when I was down in Alabama, in Birmingham at Talk 99.5 down there, Alabama Power is the big power company across Alabama, and there's a little TVA action going on in North Alabama, but for the most part, Alabama Power is the power company of choice. I always was amused. So, you know what their slogan was? Alabama Power.
This is going to be funny, isn't it?
Alabama Power. Always on. That's it.
It's kind of weak sauce.
But it's also not true. Because their slogan, I said that their slogan should be Alabama Power, always on until the lights go out.
And then we'll be back as soon as possible.
And then not so much. We'll be back as soon as possible. Just give us a call and we'll let you know. So dumb. But I do want to congratulate these guys that are keeping the power on and keeping us up and running and keeping the heat on. It's good on you. 6872 says, now figure out how we get all of this money out of political campaigns. Here's where I am on money, okay? Let's talk about some broad. Let's do this in broad strokes. We'll get to telephone calls. Here's where I'm at on money. Money, what is money? Money is work. Money is work. What is a dollar bill?
It's a representation of your productivity.
That's exactly right. It is an assigned value of productivity. It is a manner by which we trade goods and services. It helps ease the level of that trade. The barter system was rather cumbersome. So we came to a monetary system by which I will pay you certain denotations for your work or your productivity. And in exchange, you can then use said payment, which is not of any value outside of what we assign to it. You can use that for purposes of your own choosing to either buy goods or services or give it to other people or whatever you want to do with it. Now, is money free speech? Of course it is. Of course it is. And our freedoms of association in a freedom-loving society indicate that collectively people can get together and pool their money together and buy advertising or not buy advertising or support this person or not support that person. That's called freedom. And because others are not paying enough attention to understand where that money is coming from, that doesn't mean that that money isn't representative of free speech in an open society. But here's where I have a problem. I hate the idea of washing that money through political action committees. I hate the idea of hiding behind political action committees or other organizations that you can then wash that money with. I mean, look at it like a big swimming pool. If I dump a bucket of water into one end of the swimming pool and go to the other end of the swimming pool and dip out a bucket of water and hand it to my buddy, did I give that my specific bucket of water to my buddy? Well, I would say no. Well, the same goes for political action committees and other organizations designed to hide your money. So I don't believe, back to these organizations that I'm not knocking, and I'll use two of them that two of my good friends are affiliated with, TP USA, Chris Hand, and AFP, Pamela Furr. I don't knock their affiliation, and based on the fact that they choose to affiliate with these organizations, I think well of these organizations because I think well of them. But I would never, ever, 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 ever give my money to these organizations, ever. Because I don't believe in it. If I support a political candidate, you're going to get a check from me. Every political donation should have a name behind it, a real name and a real person. And if you do not believe in a candidate enough to put your name behind the donation, then you're not allowed to give the donation. How about that? Well, I don't want to be inundated with calls from other people. Well, then too bad. Then don't give the money. Openness dictates that you have to be forthright and forthcoming with your political donations. Open government does.
Jason asked, what if we wash that money through Ukraine? Then it's okay, right?
Yeah, Ukraine. Oh, yeah, that's all well and good.
Okay, just making sure.
Mm-hmm. 23 after the hour. More calls coming up, and I apologize that I haven't gotten to you. Several of them have, I've lost a couple of you. Kenny, you'll be first up. Super Talk 99.7 WTN, 615-737-9986. Back in a moment. Hey, guys, let me spend a moment talking to you about your sleep and your sleep habits and your sleep patterns. And I want to talk to you about the Dr. Poss Center for the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solution Center. Dr. Stephen Poss and his team, man, they've been so good to this community in helping people sleep better who have mild to moderate sleep apnea. And I want to tell you all about what Dr. Poss and his team are doing at the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solution Center. As a matter of fact, I'm going to experience it for myself. I'm going over. I was scheduled to go Tuesday, but obviously the weather held us back there. So next Wednesday, I'm scheduled to head on over, and I'm going to walk you through my experience. It's an alternative to a CPAP machine. For those who have been CPAP intolerant, or for people who have sleep apnea, mild to moderate, and cannot wear a CPAP, you can eliminate or dramatically reduce snoring. And you can also eliminate that snoring for your partner. You know, if your partner is in the room with you, they're not sleeping as well as they should if you're snoring. And so now you have two tired people. 25% of adults have sleep apnea, and most of them are unaware of it. At the Dr. Poss Center for Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solutions, they take major medical. So if you have BCBS, Aetna, Cigna, United Healthcare, TRICARE for the military, you're in network, so you're covered through those major insurance companies. Dr. Poss has advanced training and teaches other dentists on a national level about what he does in Murfreesboro and in Brentwood. So go to drposs.com, that's drposs.com, and find out how you can sleep better tonight with the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solution Center. I almost interrupted myself there. That guy sounded like he knew what he was talking about. This guy sounds like he knows what he's talking about, too, when it comes to your health and your health plan. I really don't, actually, but I know the guy that does. I've spoken with Pat Davis repeatedly. You know, Pat and his team at Your Health Plan Man, they helped my wife get medical insurance, health insurance. They sat down with us, talked to us about her lack of plan, and we discussed whether or not we wanted her on my plan here at my employer at Cumulus. And we decided that it would be best for us and our family if we enrolled in one of Pat's plans because it was more affordable, it was more extensive, it had better coverage, lower deductibles. That's what it's all about, is getting educated. I really don't know about all of the plans that are out there. And Pat does. He has all of those plans available at his fingertips, and he's going to find the right one for you. He's not locked into this company or that company, which is what makes his freedom of choice plan so wonderful. Puts the coverage up front, no deductibles. You pick your doctor. It's 30 to 60% lower cost than Obamacare. It might be right for you, and the plan is available year-round, by the way, for those that qualify. You do not have to wait for open enrollment. So if you're paying for your own health insurance, if you're on COBRA, if you're uninsured, or if you are unsatisfied with your current insurance, call Pat Davis and Your Health Plan Man. The Your Health Plan Man team is available for you at 4Plan Man. That's the number, and I'm going to give it to you numerically. 855-475-2662. Or go to yourhealthplanman.com. That's yourhealthplanman.com. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Matt Murphy and you all over the joint today. Would love to hear from you. 615-737-9986. 615-737-WWTN, either via text or telephone call. I also want to applaud those that have been working diligently to get our roadways as clean as possible. The major thoroughfares, we were applauding TVA and NES for keeping the lights on. The fact that we have roadways as clean as they are right now is absolutely phenomenal. We don't do this every day in the South. It is a rarity that we get the amount of snow that we got in a 24-hour period. So kudos to those guys for keeping the roadways clean. Now, we're getting some precipitation now in and around the Nashville area. I'm being told that in Old Hickory, Redheaded Stranger tells me that it's the frozen variety of stuff that is falling there. Probably frozen over in Dixon. Up north, Clarksville and those areas, you're dealing with snow, which is probably better for you because the likelihood of that icing over is lessened. Not, obviously 0%, but lessened. So we got all of that going on. Kenny, in the meantime, is in Lebanon to talk about political parties. Hey, Kenny, how are you?
That's Jimmy, not Kenny.
I'm sorry, Jimmy?
Yeah, Jimmy.
Oh,
but anyway,
hey, Jimmy.
You're right about the political parties which just reestablish themselves the day after you eliminated them. But the thing is, I think that it's possible to limit their power and their ability to be in the national government, in other words, and limit them to the state. If you read the Federalist Papers, number 39, James Madison explains the difference between a national government and a federal government. In the national government, which is the House of Representatives, is the national portion. He explains this because the House is elected by the people. It's divided into simple districts. Article 1, Section 3. The senators were appointed by each state's legislature to represent the state, the member state in the union. That is, there is the United States. That is the federal system. Well, the 17th Amendment did away with the federal system, so we really don't have a federal government. We have a wholly national government. And if you eliminated the House of Representatives and the people's ability to vote as in one simple state, one national government, you would bring it back to the states. And the states, the people would elect their representatives. The representatives would appoint their senators, just like they do in
I missed a little part of that because your call cut out, but I am strongly in favor of repealing the 17th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States.
Yeah, I don't think that would go far enough. I think you need to eliminate the House, which is the national government, which is the consolidation of the states into a single state.
No, I disagree with that, Kenny. Hold on. You're cutting out, and I can't hear you, Kenny. Sorry, Jimmy. I don't mean to be rude to you, but I'm trying to hear what you're saying, and we're out of time this segment. But I'm going to be kind and not cut you off so that you can make a final point, Jimmy. I couldn't hear you because you were cutting out. Your phone was cutting out. But I'm more in. You want to eliminate the House of Representatives? Well, okay. I'll tell you what. We'll have to suspend it because John Rose is coming on, a member of the House of Representatives. I believe that the elimination of the 17th Amendment would go far enough. Right now, states do not have appropriate representation in Congress. The People's House is the House of Representatives, and those individuals are to vote in the interest of their individual districts, not their states, their individual districts. The states were always represented by the Senate, and the Senate was a block on federal encroachment and growth. It was incumbent upon the People's House would encourage that because that's free money coming from other areas, not their own. The Senate was designed because they appointed through the state legislatures. The Senate was designed to be representative of the state. And the states have lost that representation since the direct election of senators and the 17th Amendment to the Constitution. 133, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We got a lot of water laying around. It's of the frozen variety right now, but all of that is going to melt eventually. Where's it going? Well, if it goes into the ground and slowly, benefits your property, that's one thing. But what if it goes into your basement? That's another thing entirely. Do you know? If you don't know, I have a number that you need to call. USS, United Structural Systems. Water is just tenacious. Water never stops. It is always trying to figure out the easiest way into your home. And it will get there if you let it. And friends, let me tell you, if you let it, you got a world of problems. Let's get ahead of this with USS. They are your structural and foundational experts, and they repair what you need to repair, and they don't try to upsell you on anything else. They simply guarantee their best at USS. They've been keeping homes stable and dry for 30 years, since 1994, all across Middle Tennessee, Southern Kentucky, and Northern Alabama. Give them a call today at 615-488-7855. 488-7855, and find out how they can help you. Over 25,000 satisfied customers, and you could be the next one with USS, United Structural Systems. Super Talk 99.7 WTN, a lot going on in Washington, D.C. Quite a bit for the beginning of the new year. We caught up with Senator Bill Hagerty earlier today in the Libertarian Lunchtime Hour. Now we catch up with 6th Congressional District Representative John Rose, who joins us on the Matt Murphy Hotline to talk about action in D.C. Congressman, good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon, Matt. Thanks for having me on the show today.
And it's absolutely a pleasure, as always, John. Good to have you on. I trust that everything is safe and sound at the homestead, right? With all of the, I know that you deal with snow in D.C. all the time, every winter, all winter long. But everything okay in the homestead with regard to the snow and the ice and all of that?
Well, yeah. If you're asking me about my home back in Cookeville, yeah, yes. I think so. My boys are my oldest son. He's in kindergarten, so he's enjoying being off of school, and they're playing in the snow. I got to play with them in the snow a little bit on Tuesday morning because my flight got canceled and I couldn't come up here. So we had a pretty good time. I guess it was Monday or Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday morning, and so all is good.
Oh, that's good. It's good to hear. Let's talk about things that are not so good, like the southern border and budgets and these types of things. Obviously the Biden administration continues to attempt to convince the American people that the southern border is not an ongoing issue. How far do you believe the Republicans in the House of Representatives are willing to go to hold the Biden administration to account for what they're not doing more than what they are doing on the southern border when it comes to money and budgeting? Obviously, this is back on the table. We kind of kicked the can in December. I think these two issues are very interrelated because if we expect for the Biden administration to do anything about the flood of illegal aliens coming across the southern border, we got to hold the purse strings tightly in the House. Talk to me about it.
Sure. Well, I agree completely about the disaster at the southern border. The Democratic Party and President Biden and his administration, they've just lost their minds with respect to what they're doing at the southern border. It's intentional, though. I mean, it is his policy, so we shouldn't confuse that somehow they need new resources or new legislation in order to get that under control. This is intentional by President Biden and his administration, so just always important to keep that in mind. With respect to, the appropriations process and where we are with it and how that's tied to the border, I think that, unfortunately right now, we have not had enough time on the clock, sadly. Now, we could argue about whether we've had it and we just wasted it, but, it's probably going to pass later today to do another set of temporary CRs to get us into March. And then the commitment from the Speaker is still then to try to approach the appropriations bills for fiscal year 24, which we're, a quarter to a third of the way through now. Using the 12 appropriations bills. We passed 7 of them in the House. We would need to pass 5 more, conference with the Senate, et cetera, to do that. I think in that process, there will be an attempt to make the border a key element to get the provisions that we want that would force the president to enforce the current law and give him new tools to use that he would be forced to use. So I think that's kind of where that stands. Where I think the real issue here about the border is going to get framed, though, is with the request from the Biden administration for more funding for Ukraine. That, I believe, the Speaker has made clear. I don't think the House is going to provide, the Republican majority in the House is going to provide additional Ukraine funding unless the president addresses the border. And we can't take his word for it. So it's not going to be a handshake deal. Even though he has all the tools he needs, I think you'll ultimately see legislation put in place that forces the 46th president to do his job, to uphold his oath to the Constitution, to enforce the Constitution, and that's unfortunately what's going to have to happen in order to get this problem at the border solved.
John Rose, our guest, a 6th Congressional District Representative in Tennessee. John, can you help me understand, this is a dangerous game that I'm about to play with you, but can you help me understand the Democrat position or the president's position on Ukraine funding? They don't want any accountability through the halls of Congress. They don't want any accounting or auditing of the monies already spent, the billions and billions and billions of dollars already spent. And I just don't understand what more money, what good it will come to at this stage in the game. Look, I don't begrudge Ukraine for doing what they're trying to do. At the same time, without any level of accountability, the American people are left wondering just what our money is going toward.
And I think those are fair. It's a very fair question that you're asking. I think it really boils down to this. President Biden's failed policy internationally with how we deal with challenges around the world is what led to Ukraine. I think he understands that. I think he understands this is about his legacy. If Ukraine goes down, if the Russians are able to overtake Ukraine, that's on Joe Biden, and he knows it, and he thinks he can't afford to lose. Now, why they insist on not being held accountable, why they won't formulate a plan, I guess it's simply because they don't want a measuring stick that then they have to live up to in terms of how successful they are. And I think there is, generally, I think Americans probably don't want to see Ukraine overrun by Russia, and we're all heartened at the fight that they've put up. And, I guess at some level we all want to help. But we can't just continue to send American treasure with no questions asked. And, a lot of that money is being used to do things like pay for bureaucrats' retirement in Ukraine and other very kind of general economic aid to prop up the Ukrainian government. And I understand why, those things probably need to be done, but I don't really understand why the U.S. taxpayers should be asked to shoulder that burden. And, we have to have more from our European allies that are next door neighbors to Ukraine. They have to carry more of the water on that sort of thing if it's going to be carried. And we've got to create a real incentive for the Biden administration and the Ukrainians to make it count. And so I suspect that there's probably going to be a deal that gets Ukraine some more funding, hopefully with the needed oversight. But I don't think that will happen unless the Biden administration agrees to do their job at the southern border of the United States.
Well, I want to circle back to the southern border and Alejandro Mayorkas in just a moment, but is there conversation in the halls of D.C. and amongst your colleagues? Is there concern about what's going on with the Secretary of Defense? I mean, while we entangle ourselves further and further into an engagement with the Houthis and by proxy the Iranians, while we're watching an escalation go on in the Middle East and an expansion of that conflict that originally started between Hamas and Israel, something that I would suggest would not have happened had we a different commander-in-chief. As we're watching Ukraine and Russia slog on and an expenditure of money there, we had a missing Secretary of Defense for weeks, and the White House claimed they did not know that he was in the hospital for a period of time. That's got to be concerning to Congress, is it not?
Absolutely, it is. And I think it underscores the manifest problems with this administration and the people that the president has surrounded himself with. I voted the secretary had to have a waiver in order to get to be secretary. I voted against that at the time because I thought that, he was too close to the military and didn't meet the criteria for having distanced himself from being a flag officer in the military. So I think I think this just underscores that he was not up to the task and that he doesn't understand the gravity of the situation, and the fact that he was trying to be unavailable and not tell the president that, the fact that the administration didn't have in place the system to keep up with that, the fact that they haven't taken decisive action even now. All these are problems. And I think our foreign adversaries are watching, and they know that, that we could be caught napping because key people are not where they're supposed to be. And of course, I think this also underscores the status at the White House. We've got an octogenarian as president of the United States who is not on his A game. And so it's not surprising that he doesn't know where his people are or what they're doing. And so these are all problems. I think it underscores the failings of President Biden. Ultimately, this is all on him. And, we need people in these key positions that can get the job done. And I hate to tell you this, but this is happening across all of government. The administration is distracted by their progressive agenda. They're not pursuing the nuts and bolts work that is the business of the government that needs to be taken care of. And everyone that we work with is seeing that, whether it's getting a passport or getting your taxes filed or getting new technology adopted, et cetera, everywhere across the whole of government, the Biden administration is failing to get the job done.
Your colleague representing the state of Tennessee, Mark Green, obviously is chair of Homeland Security Committee. They're holding impeachment proceedings regarding Alejandro Mayorkas. Let's play a game for a moment, John, and pretend that I just came from a different planet, and you have to explain to me why the Congress needs to remove Alejandro Mayorkas as the Secretary of Homeland Security. What would you say to me?
Well, so his job is to protect the borders of this country, and he has a lot of responsibilities, but that's the most important one, I would argue. And he's sworn an oath to the Constitution to uphold not only the Constitution, but the laws of the United States, and he's not doing it. And we can't get his boss to make him do it. And so, Congress has limited tools when it comes to these things, and one of those is to remove an official who's not doing his job, and the process for that is we call impeachment. And obviously the real question mark here, though, is and as a lawyer, trained as a lawyer, I would tell you, any good prosecutor knows you don't prosecute a case that you can't win a conviction. And that's the problem we face here is, we've got to make a pretty solid case, and ultimately we've got to convince about 17, 18 Democratic senators to go along with this in removing Mayorkas. And so that's why it's so important that the American people understand the tragedy that is happening by design at the southern border under the management of Secretary Mayorkas. And of course, we can't ignore the reality that he is following the orders, implementing the intentional policy of President Joe Biden.
I was very pleased as I watched the political dynamic shape up in 2024. I was pleased to see that President Trump had kind of honed his message. Former President Trump had honed his message in 4 areas, one being border security, the other the economy, energy policy, and dissolving foreign entanglements and needless wars overseas. I think those 4 pillars will lead to a Trump victory. Of those 4, which do you believe is most important for Congress to deal with in 2024? Is it border security?
I think so. I mean, it's hard not to look past the economic situation, the government spending, the debt deficit. I mean, those things are probably even more important, frankly. But I think there's no issue that's like screaming for an immediate solution like the border. When you have 406 people an hour on average coming across the border, almost 10,000 a month. When you have the previous month, 302,000 people come into the country illegal, more than the population of Knoxville, Tennessee. And when you have a 3-year period, the term of this president, the 3 years that have passed us, and more people than the entire population of Tennessee have entered the country illegally, no one can deny that is a complete catastrophe at our southern border. And the long-term implications of that are also very, very concerning, I think, and should be for every American, every Tennessean, because, we're going to be dealing with the ramifications of all these illegals coming into the country for literally years and decades.
Congressman John Rose with us for a few good moments. John, we appreciate everything that you do in Washington, D.C. to bring some fiscal, financial, and otherwise sanity to the process, and we appreciate you speaking to the people of the 6th Congressional District and more broadly to Middle Tennessee, and we'll do it again very soon.
Thank you, Matt. It's a great honor to represent the people of Tennessee.
Take care there, John. There's John Rose, Congressman Rose, representing the 6th District, and always good conversation with John. It's 51 minutes, almost 52 minutes after the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy, and let's spend a moment talking about your safety. Obviously, you want to be safe in your home. You want to be safe in your automobile. You want to be safe on your person. And you want to be safe when you go into public settings. That's where Defend Systems comes in. I mentioned that Brink Fiddler and his team are hiring. They're hiring because they're so good at what they do. They're good at what they do because of their levels of experience. They have thousands of hours of real-world experience when it comes to understanding, defending your place of business, defending your school, your church, really any place that people gather. And so they're hiring a communications and public relations person right now. And if you are in the mood for a job change or looking for work with a great company with great benefits and whatnot, contact Brink and Defend Systems, and they can help you out in that regard. In the meantime, if you are a decision maker at a place of business, if you're a decision maker at a school or a church, you need Defend Systems in your life. You need this training. This training is far more than simply checking a box for your employees. It will truly give them life skills that they can apply inside the workplace and outside the workplace when it comes to the violent world that we see around us. DefendSystems.com for more information, or give them a call and schedule an appointment today. 615-236-6484. 236-6484 for Defend Systems. Super Talk 99.7 WTN, lots going on in the world of politics, and we'll continue to update you on those things like Joe Biden. Here, I think I can get this in real quick. Yeah, let's do this.
Deborah Ross. Where's Deborah? I just had my picture taken with her. That's probably why she left. No, all kidding aside. Anyway, she couldn't be here, actually. That's not true. I got it mixed up.
Joe Biden said he took his picture with somebody that was not present at the event that he was having in North Carolina. That's your president of the United States. More on that, plus a change of direction here in just a moment.
Two o'clock, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. 33 degrees, a cloudy day in Music City. Rain starting to fall around Middle Tennessee. That could create some slick driving conditions. Got a winter weather advisory until tomorrow at 9 a.m. TDOT has started treating bridges and overpasses. And the Nashville Department of Transportation crews currently working to clear secondary roads. Will transition back to primary routes this afternoon. Got a full weather forecast coming up in about 2 minutes. The U.S. has conducted another round of strikes on Houthi targets in Yemen. Pentagon Deputy Press Secretary Sabrina Singh says today's strike was carried out on 2 missile launchers in a Houthi-controlled area that pose an imminent threat to commercial shipping vessels in the Red Sea. This is the 5th strike now the U.S. has carried out on the Houthis in the past week, and the 2nd in just a matter of 6 hours.
What we took, the actions that Central Command took last night, was to destroy missiles that could be launched and that we're preparing to launch either towards U.S. Navy ships that are in the region, that are in that waterway, or other commercial vessels. It wouldn't say that there has been a change in assessment or anything like that. They took the action that they did because these missiles were going to launch and could cause harm to innocent mariners.
Right now in our nation's capital, the Justice Department has released a scathing report today outlining what's described as cascading failures of leadership during the 2022 mass shooting at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde. The report documents several critical failures and breakdowns prior to, during, and after the incident by responding officers that ultimately led to the slaughter of 19 children and 2 teachers before law enforcement breached the classroom 77 minutes after the first officers responded to the scene. That is the latest news. Got a weather forecast coming up next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Hey, folks, it's Matt Murphy, and I want to tell you about a wonderful podcast that you've heard me alert you to on a number of occasions. It's Steve Abramowitz and Mill Creek View. Steve interviews all sorts of people, including yours truly, and as a matter of fact, I am now a monthly visitor with a segment called Murphy's Law to Steve Abramowitz and Mill Creek View, and I am so proud to be able to present myself to Steve, and we talk and have a great discussion. We talk about Tennessee politics. We talk about national politics. We talk about local things. It's not not just politics, however. Steve always has some fun with entertainment and sports figures and cultural touchstones and artists and the like. I mean, it's just a little bit of everything at Mill Creek View. Go over to mcview.us. That's mcview.us to find out more. They've got their newspaper there. It's an online publication. Plus, there's a link to all of the podcasts available at Mill Creek View. What a wonderful addition to our state. He's been here for about as long as I have. He's a great guy, and he runs a great podcast. Mill Creek View, Tennessee. Go by and see him at mcview.us. That's mcview.us. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Why are you telling Josh? You should just tell River to do it, and River will do it. He's a good boy. You'll understand what I mean when what I'm talking about in just a moment as I introduce our next guests who are in studio with us. It's Matt Murphy. It's the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's just after 2 o'clock, 2:05 to be precise. Hope you're doing well. You got some nasty weather moving through the area. Obviously, we already have snow on the ground. There's a concern that some of the wintry mix will create icy conditions on the roadways. We'll keep you up to date with all of that all throughout the afternoon. Jack Womack's already here in the traffic center. And throughout our show, the duration of our show, and throughout the drive, we're going to keep you up to date on all of those things. So you're in the right place at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Although we will be suspending political talk for the next 20 minutes or so as we welcome some guests to our studio. I am a sucker, an absolute sucker when it comes to dogs. You guys know that my dogs are my kids. I don't have kids, so dogs become my kids. And I talk about John Henry and Larry Munson and Mrs. Beasley quite a bit. So it is by no coincidence that when I learned the story of River, I had to have Bethany Van Meter on with me. We had a great conversation the first time that she was on. If you remember it, we had a wonderful discussion about how she, her husband, her family brought one more into the fold in the form of River. And I'm not going to tell you the story. I'm going to let Bethany tell you the story because she's in studio with the man himself. River is in the house. Hey, Bethany, how are you?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good.
And you brought your husband, Josh, with you.
I did.
And you brought the kids, Leland and Roman, with you.
That's right.
And they're in there with Mr. Bell. He's probably corrupting them.
Yay.
Hey, you're reading your, yeah. And you see there, are you embarrassed for being mean to River now that you see the nature of the book that they brought with them?
I was not mean.
Well, that's a matter of opinion.
Actually, I take that back. I was mean, but I was mean to you, not the dog.
Oh, that's true. That's true. So for those who don't know, and it's good to see you again. And just, you're all good. Don't worry about that. It's good to see you again. For those that missed the story the first time we had you on, let's talk about River.
Sure.
How did you find River, and how did River become a part of your family?
Well, we have rescued for about 20 years and needed to take a little bit of a pause and saw his picture from a friend. And her sister happened to be fostering him at the moment and decided to stop our pause and met him. And he came over and visited a couple weekends just to see if that was something we felt that we were called to do. And here we are, almost 3 years later.
River was found in Texas.
Correct.
And when he was found, he had some pretty serious medical issues.
Sure. So his eyes were incredibly infected. So the kind man that found him drove him all the way to Tennessee to a foster that could take him. And when they took him to the vet, deemed it necessary to have his eyes removed. So he does not have eyes, but he sees with his heart.
Which was the title of the first book.
Correct.
I See With My Heart. And there's a new book out, and we'll talk about that in just a second.
Yeah.
How is that world? I mean, did you guys know if you know and love dogs, that's one thing.
Sure.
But I can't imagine bringing a dog in. Hey, River. I see.
Yelling.
Yeah, no, good for him. Just yell out the questions, and we'll try to answer them. It's just a different world, right? With a dog with no sight.
Sure. He's actually not our first blind dog. He's our first dog without either eye. We've had one dog that we had to have one of his eyes removed, and then he lost the vision in the second one. So this isn't completely unfamiliar to us. It had been a while, but this isn't completely unfamiliar to us.
What are some of the considerations that you tell people about when you meet school groups, when you speak at libraries? Because I know you go all over the country now and talk about River and what you've learned from him, and what are some of the things that you talk about in terms of accommodations you've had to make?
Sure. So usually our prep is, I always ask the teachers to ask their students to be as quiet as possible because his hearing is so sensitive. And they are always, and 100% of the time, I mean that, always incredibly respectful and empathetic to his needs. I always ask that there not be any food on anybody because his sniffer works really, really well. And in fact, we were at a place in Gallatin, an after-school program, and the teacher had left her spicy Popeye's chicken in her bag, and she didn't have her spicy Popeye's chicken when we left, so he got it.
He's a little food thief?
He's a food thief anywhere. So just to not have food on them, and then, yeah, that's about it. So.
Have you, and some of the stuff that we talk about today, I want to kind of revisit, we talked about before, but do you notice that his other senses seem elevated? I mean, we see that in people. And with people, you get to talk to them, obviously, and you get to, get their opinions on it. We can't talk specifically to River necessarily, but you can observe. I mean, do you notice that his other senses are heightened?
Absolutely. His hearing is crazy, and his, like I said, his sense of smell is crazy. And I always teach the kids, I always ask them, how do you think he finds? They're like, how can he eat? So I have them close their eyes, and I'm like, could you still eat? And they say yes. And how do you think he gets to jump up on the couch? How do you think he knows where it is? And so they'll answer, and he feels, he smells, he senses, he touches. Oh, what a ham.
He's being a big baby.
What a ham.
Speaking of, let's see how well he hears.
Ooh.
Let's see. Are you ready? All right. So for those watching on Super Talk TV, E brought, actually, I know. I almost said it wrong. This is from Mrs. Beasley Munson and John Henry.
Oh, I didn't see that. I do know a plastic bag.
Can I give him one?
Absolutely.
All right, River. All right. Well, I don't know what's going to happen there, so I'm just going to let you do it.
Okay.
Yeah,
well, you'll be able to give him some later.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. That's some Crunchos, our favorite little snack that the dogs now have learned. Our dogs have learned that if they pretend to go to the bathroom outside, I mean, literally, we've caught Ms. Beasley squatting, and she doesn't pee. She just knows if she goes out, squats, and comes back in, she gets a Cruncho. And awesome. So they're just little dickens.
Yep.
So.
And we fall for it.
And when did you conceive of the idea of writing and kind of telling the story of River, and what was the inspiration for that?
Well, I've always loved poetry and just writing. I'm a singer-songwriter. And I would post on my social media as if River were writing my post, like he'd taken over. And people just got a really big kick out of him writing and telling everybody what was going on.
By the way, that's River saying that you're not touching him, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes. I always have to tell the kids that he is not hurt. He is just bothered that someone is not touching him at the moment. So I feel
I'll touch you, buddy.
I know. It was the combination of just loving to write little rhyming couplets and then people being receptive. And he's just so
Mom,
good
Uncle
with
Matt
kids.
wants the Crunchos. Would you bring those over here? Thank you very much. Okay, River. All right, no, keep going. I'm listening to every word, I promise.
Yeah. So I just kind of, I think the combination of liking to do that and he's just so good with kids. And I just thought, what an awesome story to be able to share and teach people of all ages
That's it, buddy.
What
I promise I'm listening, Bethany.
Sure.
You're used to that.
I am.
You've got to be used to this.
I am. I have
people are
lots
half
of children.
listening to you.
I know. Usually people are paying attention to the dog, which is kind of my favorite part, is that he gets to be the star and I get the backseat. So
you never know what bumps in the road that come along, whether you're a dog or a human being, that are going to create wonderful windows of opportunity. Yeah. And I mean, nobody would ever wish for River to lose his sight.
Sure.
But without River's loss of sight, he would not have you. I mean, and what a wonderful blessing. And somebody needs to tell you this, because I've met you guys enough to know that you probably don't think a lot. What a wonderful blessing you've been to River, to give him the life that you've given him, and to give him the opportunity to share his story and to help young people learn about differences and learn about overcoming adversity and learn about all of those things that you talk about when you give speeches and when you have little get-togethers with the kids.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I appreciate you saying that so much, but I think we get the biggest blessing out of it. Just to see, I thought we'd connect a lot with blind families or blind people or animal rescues and something along those lines, but we have really connected with special needs families and people of all ages, and I feel like it's a pure heart meeting a pure heart, and they just have an awesome bond, and that is just blows us away. We both become incredibly emotional to witness that. So
in addition to the human family, River doesn't have any dog brothers or sisters.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And you and I know you and E talk online, and you and I talk online, and it was kind of a special moment for River, and this has happened since you were last on, where he got an opportunity to have a little bit of a play date with the dog.
He did.
Why is it so difficult for River, because of his sight limitations, to be around other dogs?
Sure. He's been around them, and he's been fine. I don't blame other dogs. It's just something in the animal kingdom when they are always going to perceive him as weak on the totem pole, and he will always be the weaker one, and he'll never be the alpha and the dominant one. And I love to be able to explain that to kids, because they often ask me that, and that he just, I need to be his mama and protect him and make sure that somebody doesn't go after him, because I never know how it will manifest, how somebody else turning alpha will manifest with him. And he kind of doesn't really, he's very excited to see listen to me. He's very excited to be around and experience another dog. And sometimes they don't know how to handle his excitement, but this one dog was absolutely wonderful.
Well, so it makes sense that dogs need a pecking order. They desire to establish that. And so it's one thing I would expect to meet another dog with leashes. There's a lot of control involved in that. So that dynamic's probably one thing, but letting them go and letting them freely associate with one another could lead to bad things, because if a dog perceives weakness in River because River doesn't have any sight, that might lead to a bite or whatever, or trying to dominate, and then River doesn't know what's going on, and it freaks him out.
He can't defend himself, and I've unfortunately witnessed that. So I do have to protect him. And while they have a desire for a pecking order, he has a desire to eat your food and sleep. So that's his only desire.
So, but you got him together for a play date with, I guess, a dog that was specifically trained for therapy or special needs or whatnot.
Yeah, so that was really cool to witness that. And it just took a few minutes of the other dog trying to grasp the concept of
what's going on
and noticing River's, looks, and he did great. And they were just walking in our backfield, and they were playing. It was really sweet.
Well, tell me about, so there's the dog side of things. Tell me about cats.
Well, so I'm not a cat person. I'm a dog person, and I didn't want to lose my my pit bull street cred. No, I'm just teasing. But we learned that his best buddy at his foster home was a cat. And I have fallen in love, Belle, with a cat, and his name is Tiger. And so we decided to get River a cat for Christmas last year. Are we talking about Tiggy? And it turned out to be a wonderful decision. And I am now pushing a cat in a stroller, if it makes you feel any better about where I've come with my cat position.
You listening to this, Belle? She's going after you because you're coming after her. So,
Hey, I control her mic.
I want Josh to do me a favor. I want you to stop touching River and see how long it takes River to. There you go. It's like 3 seconds. Yeah. Like
he will get so worked up. He sounds like he's talking.
Oh no, he's great.
He yells.
He's great. He's a part of the conversation. He's like Mr. Matt needs to be quieter.
And he does put on a show when we're doing the readings. He definitely puts on a show. He knows he's the center of attention.
And he probably likes being the center
Absolutely.
of attention. Tell me about the new book.
Yeah. So last Christmas, River got a cat for Christmas. And the premise of the book is to teach people that it's okay to try to be friends with someone that's different than you. And so, yeah, it's pretty cool. And just how they had a little bit of a rough start.
Yeah,
And,
what was the rough start all about?
Well, I don't think he knew what Tiger was, and he was just a little tiny fur ball.
I would think that River would think that that's a toy.
Squeaky toy. And those are his favorite toys. So, but it took just about maybe 4 or 5 days.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, when I chew on this one, it's a lot louder than the others.
It is, but now they're just, they're
this
the
one
bestest.
chews back.
No, it does. It does, and it's got claws. And so, yeah, they're become the best of friends, and it's super sweet. And it's really helped him. He's had a lot of separation anxiety. So we do have to, have lots of dog sitters, and I have to take him with me a lot. So this has really helped him not feel so alone, and having the cat. So yeah.
Josh, pull up to the microphone there for just a second, because I want to ask you. I mean, this has to be a team effort.
A total team effort. When we first got River, I didn't expect it to take so long for him to become acclimated to our house, just to decompress from all of the trauma that he had been through to even come to Tennessee. And so I just didn't think it didn't give him the time to get used to our house and get used to knowing that he wasn't going to have to be taken somewhere. And so at first I was very frustrated with him not just being a normal dog, but it just took a very short time. And he acts just like a normal dog. We get him riled up. We play with him. He jumps. He's very good. He's just.
I bet he's not good at fetch.
No, but I will tell you this. My boys will be outside playing soccer, and he will get the ball.
Yeah,
it's unreal.
He'll find it.
He'll because he can hear it rolling on the grass. He can feel the vibrations, and he can smell it, and he will. He'll find it.
Yes. River's coming over. He's like, "Don't you call me out."
You were calling me mean earlier?
Well, I'm just.
This dog's no good at fetch.
I'm just keeping it real. I mean, John Henry's got 2 perfectly good eyes. He's no good at fetch. You throw the ball, and John Henry will look at you and say, "Oh, you didn't want that ball." Oh, that's good. Okay.
Well, and the cat knows he doesn't have any eyes either, because he'll smack him and walk right behind him, and River will be looking for the cat, and the cat's behind him, knowing that River can't see
him. Hide and seek is not fair at our house.
Not fair at all.
It's not.
I was like, so the cat gives a little pop.
Absolutely.
And then immediately runs behind him, knowing that River's looking in front. Going,
Yes.
Yep. I know, rude.
So when you talk to, because you speak to school groups.
Yeah.
I assume you go to church groups.
Yeah.
Libraries, if they'll have you.
Yeah.
And these types of organizations. What's the message?
I feel River, stop.
He's fine. It's ambient.
I love, I'm working on the 3rd one right now, and it's still about him. But I truly love to be able to share with everyone that their life has value. His life has value, and I believe he represents that. And he has a purpose and a plan. And I love this part of the book. It's a little bit more humorous than the first one. The first one just kind of lays the groundwork for who he is.
I mean, there's a little bit of sadness in the first one.
Yeah,
because you kind of have to tell the backstory,
sure,
right? And
absolutely.
River's currently mad. Everyone, I'm not hurting River. River's mad because I'm not actively touching River. Although River is laying on my foot, and I would think that would be enough, but that's not good enough. Hey, River, I'm right here.
He's a mess, but this one's a little bit more humorous, and just shares that it's okay to be friends with someone that is different than you. And they really do have a love for each other. And so I love that part of that.
Yep. Yeah, there comes the tail.
The tail.
All right. I promise I'm listening to what you're saying. You really love that part of it. The book is called I Got a Cat for Christmas. We're going to finish up on the other side. It's 124 on Super Talk 99.7 WT. Hey, friends, it's the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief located in Franklin that I want to tell you about for just a moment. Folks, if you're starting 2024 and you have pain emanating in your body, why are you doing this to yourself? And if you're having to take pills, I know when I first came to Nashville, I was regularly taking pills, over-the-counter medication, but medication nonetheless, to try to alleviate pain that I thought was stress-related. I didn't really know what was going on in my upper neck. I went to the Dr. Gill Center, met with Dr. Wendy, and she we did x-rays, and it was incredible what I learned. I learned that I had compressions in my neck that could be alleviated through spinal decompression at the Dr. Gill Center. And with that, we were off and running. I became a patient, absolutely loved it, and I don't have that pain radiating from my shoulders anymore. I got a little lower back pain, and we're dealing with that at the Dr. Gill Center as well. But here's the deal, folks. If you're tired of taking shots, if you are tired of taking pills, and if you're tired of considering surgery as your only option to alleviate your pain, get with the Dr. Gill Center and see what they can do for you. I promise you'll be happy with the results. The Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief. Get pain-free in 2024. 615-882-4838, 882-4838. It's the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief in Franklin.
We're monitoring the weather as those roads could be slick, drizzle around Middle Tennessee, more attacks on Houthi missile sites in Yemen, and some crime in Tennessee. A body was found. 2:30. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Mac Morey. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Just a couple of additional moments with Bethany Van Meter, Josh, the rest of the crew, Leland, Roman's here, and, of course, River is here. River, can you see River on the shot? Can you see River at all there, Belkay? This is pretty good. I'm going to move the shot if you can't see.
Yeah, we can now, but I'm not using that camera. I'm using the wide
okay,
angle.
you're ruining the okay. Well, River is now in the chair, controlling the experience.
I love it.
Yeah, River knows every time I say River's name. River's looking over at me, and I've given River some crunchos, and so River is. Okay, you want to take over? You want to just do the last 30 minutes? You can do the crossover with Brian Wilson in the drive, River. That'd be fine. I'd be good with that. Hey, River, what are your thoughts on Joe Biden and the Biden administration? Anything? Yeah, America's whining too, buddy. You telling me? River, you just said a mouthful there. So how can folks get a copy of I Got a Cat for Christmas? Oh, hold on. Stand by. Belle, help me out. You got to give me a mic there. Thank you. All right, go ahead.
Sure. They can go to rivervanmeter.com, rivervanmeter.com, or it's on Amazon or Barnes & Noble, Walmart, BAM, I think, on those. But you can you can get it personalized if you do it through my website. And I can sign it, and there's more merch and stuff on it.
And a big shout out to John Whitworth, who you're working with again.
Yes,
he's a great illustrator and does a fabulous job. And what is River doing here? River is sneaking.
I'm shocked. He's sneaking to get food.
And by the way, Leland, was this your grade on the refrigerator there? I'm looking at the fridge, and it says A+ there. Is that you? Yeah. Is that all you? What grade are you in? 5th grade? What's your favorite subject? Did you hear that? Leland said recess was his favorite subject. So that was mine too. So you've got a great future in talk radio if you want it.
That's right.
Well, thank you for stopping by.
Yeah.
It is always a pleasure to see you. I could do this every day because absolutely, no offense to you, Bethany. I love River.
I know.
And you understand the pecking order. You've been around. And poor Josh over here. He's like, you're Josh, you're like 5th. And now there's a cat. And so you have to.
And chicken.
Oh, you've got chickens?
We do.
How's that work out? No? No good?
It's fine. He's fine.
What is... In other words, you just have to keep River away from the chicken?
They're in their own little area now. And so that's working great.
Now,
and that's working great.
It's part of my job to get to the real story, right?
Oh, shoot. Well, he tried one. And so...
Did you say he tried one?
He did. And we feed him chicken flavored food, which is totally my fault.
It's the freshest of the fresh right there in the pen, in the coop.
So, but, we're just down one.
That's
okay.
Did it surprise you?
Yes, it did, actually.
So he was kind of free range with the chickens.
Yeah, it was fine.
It was all good-ish. Until it wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That happens.
John Henry had that experience with a miniature schnauzer. We tried to, when we first got John Henry never had any brothers or sisters. Yeah. When we first got John Henry, we wanted to get him a brother or a sister. We found him a little mini schnauzer named Baxter.
Yeah.
Lovely little dog, greenest eyes you've ever seen in your life. And John Henry wanted to shake him and shake him and shake him. And so we realized that in order for John Henry to have a little brother or a little sister, they had to be about 40 pounds or more.
At least,
otherwise, there you go.
I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
Poor chickens.
Yeah, I had someone say to me, I said, I'm really proud of River for finding it. And I was like, okay, thanks.
And for catch, it was pretty good, River. Right. All right, River, anything else? You good?
What else you want to say, buddy?
That River's eyes, for those who aren't watching on Super Talk TV, River's eyes are so expressive. To have no eyeballs, he has the most expressive eyes I've ever seen in a dog. Yes.
Aww, he's so sweet.
And he agrees. Thank you.
Thank you.
To all of the Van Meter clan, we appreciate you. Thank you so much. We got to do this, and we'll be back in a moment on Super Talk.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate that.
.233, I'm Mac Morey with your top stories. Right now, just above freezing at 34 degrees. It's the first time in the past few days we've had temperatures above freezing in Nashville. Winter weather advisory in effect until tomorrow at 9 a.m. in Middle Tennessee. Got a slight drizzle. That's making road conditions more slick and possibly dangerous. We'll keep you updated. Weather forecast on the way in 2 minutes. The U.S. military today continued its attacks on Houthi missile sites in Yemen, but the president is questioning how effective they've been in stopping that terror group Andy Field has the latest from Washington.
The Pentagon reporting U.S. fighter jets destroyed at least 14 Houthi missiles at a dozen launch sites.
These missiles on launch rails presented an imminent threat to merchant vessels and U.S. Navy ships in the region.
Pentagon spokesperson Sabrina Singh agreeing with President Biden, who said U.S. attacks have not stopped Houthi missile launches, but that the U.S. will continue hitting back as long as those Yemen rebels threaten Red Sea commercial ships.
Back here in the volunteer state right now in Tennessee, Channel 4 says a man whose body was found in Fall Creek State Park is considered one of the 14 winter storm-related deaths to be reported so far. A Tennessee Highway Patrol helicopter spotted the person's location, and footprints were followed to the bluff line, and they overlooked Cane Creek Gorge. The man's body was 700 feet below. That is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Hey, folks, it's Matt Murphy, and I want to spend a moment with you talking about the incredible and world-famous Glock store. It's simply the best in our community when it comes to your Second Amendment rights and helping you know how to use and when to use. And toward that end, we've been talking about the Sentinel training from Shoot 270, the indoor range at the world-famous Glock store. And believe it or not, there's still 1 or 2 slots available, limited slots available. Only 18 people total can participate in this event, and I think they have 1 or 2 slots still for you. The next Sentinel experience is February the 3rd at McGill's world-famous Glock store. Due to the amount of training and prep, I mentioned that limited space, only 18 people. You go through realistic scenarios, crisis-related medical training, resource management during crisis situations. You'll be prepared to handle whatever comes your way. Thank you to the world-famous Glock store for offering the Sentinel training in the Shoot 270 range. And by the way, it's a range. These aren't lanes. These are rooms that you train in. And find out how you can get an annual membership to Shoot 270 by going to shoot270.com or go to the world-famous Glock store in person just off of Elm Hill Pike, Airlane Drive. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to the one and only McGill's world-famous Glock store. Hey, folks, it's Matt Murphy, and let's talk for a moment about safety in your home, specifically protecting those things that protect you. I want to talk about Nashville Safe House. Nashville Safe House has well over 200 safes right there on the showroom floor, and oftentimes as many as 600 safes in stock. 600. That means that there's a safe for you at Nashville Safe House. Now, let's talk about savings, because right now you've got rebates galore at the new year on a variety of different models, and they've got just about every model that you can imagine. With that number of safes, they have something for you and a model for you. So whether it's Browning, whether it's Rhino, whether it's Fort Knox, whether it's Liberty, whatever it might be, they've got it at Nashville Safe House. And Mark wants you to know that you get delivery from professionals. Don't let somebody that doesn't know the combination of that safe deliver your safe. And don't trust your safe that protects your valuables, your jewelry, your important paperwork, and yes, your guns to a store where they got a couple in the corner and they don't really know a lot about them and they got to go find the combination. That's not what you want to do. You want to go to Nashville Safe House. It's what they do. Safes and vault doors, and that's it. NashvilleSafeHouse.com. That's NashvilleSafeHouse.com, or stop by and see them on 4th Avenue South and tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Nashville Safe House. I've often said that if I believed in ADHD, I would have it, but I don't believe in it, so I don't have it. That's somewhat of a joke, so don't come at me. Everybody comes at me every time I say that. But if I believed in it, I would have it. And so I understand that I get a little distracted from time to time, and nothing will distract me more than a pooch like River. I appreciate River, and I appreciate Bethany, Josh, and the rest of the Van Meters for stopping by and saying hello to us. The book is called I Got a Cat for Christmas by Bethany Van Meter, illustrated by John Whitworth. These are good folks, and they do great things, and I absolutely love what they're bringing to their community. They are part of our community, and I want to support them as much as I can. Now, don't you feel bad?
No.
Bell K.
Not even a little.
What? River got a cat named Tiger.
Right.
Uh-huh.
I got a copy, too.
Did you now?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You were mean to River earlier.
Maybe they should change the name of the team to the Georgia Pit Bull Dogs.
I wouldn't. Well, our dog is a little less. Some would say that we didn't have a lot of sight in our dogs with the outcome of the SEC championship game, but whatever. River's awesome. Most expressive dog with his eyes that has no eyes that I've ever met in my life. So anyway, grab a copy of that, and thank you to Bethany and the rest of the crew
River
for stopping
was sitting
by.
there like he's just like, what am I, trained monkey? Feed me.
Yeah, he is. And man, oh man. As soon as I brought out the snacks, he was all about just boop, on high alert.
He knew.
Oh yeah, he absolutely knew. He's a rock star.
You got my dog onto the Crunchios, so.
I'm telling you what. I mean,
they're great,
and they're low-cal, great little snack.
Just little guys. Yeah.
I forget if I was doing this on or off the air, but I was telling Bethany and Josh that Mrs. Beasley has learned to fake pee.
Yeah, you were saying that.
Well, she'll fake pee.
Squat.
Yeah, she'll go
out.
And then I want a snack. I peed. No, you didn't. You didn't
pee.
You didn't hurry. You didn't. We made the tactical error. I don't know how this happened. Of the older two, what's Copper's like? What's the code for go to the bathroom? Do you have like a specific?
Yeah, we'll go potty, go outside. Yeah.
Yeah. Go. All right. So ours is hurry up. You want to hurry up? Is it time to hurry up? For the older two dogs.
Hurry up.
If you're outside, because, that came naturally out of my old dog, Hody. It was like, would you hurry up? Hurry up. And so natural by extension, hurry up became go to the bathroom.
Oh, I love it.
So the older two dogs abide by the hurry up. Well, Mrs. Beasley, who runs the house, she doesn't do hurry up. No. She does find a spot.
Oh, find a spot.
So there's Matt Murphy in my slippers and my robe at 10 o'clock at night in the snow going, hurry up, find a spot, hurry up, find a spot, find a spot, hurry up, hurry up. If you found a spot, hurry up, found a spot. My neighbors think I'm insane. They think I'm some sort of drug lord kingpin in my robe.
Find a spot.
Walking, I'm going to find a spot, find a spot, hurry up, find a spot, hurry up. Oh, yeah, she'll find a spot. She'll, and then run inside.
Crunchios.
And you go, did you find a spot? And she'll run right back out.
Oh, that's cute.
Actually,
Joe Biden knows how to find a spot.
Joe
Biden speaking in North Carolina today. I want to get back to some news of the day, because Biden is out on the campaign trail for the first time in several days, and for the only the fifth time in the last 27 days, Joe Biden is at a public event. Now, this is an election year. He's using the short stairs in the back of Air Force One because he can't go down the tall stairs, and he's speaking before an assembled group of folks. I assume this is some sort of campaign event. I played this clip earlier. I want to re-up it because this is your commander-in-chief. This man has access to the nuclear codes. This guy is, quote-unquote, the leader of the free world. And, I mean, I don't know what to say about it except to play it.
Appreciate it very much. I also want to mention Congressman Deborah Ross. Where's Deborah? I just had my picture taken with her.
Where's Deborah? I just had my picture taken with her.
That's probably why she left. No, all kidding aside. Anyway, she couldn't be here, actually.
I mean.
It's not true. I got it mixed up. And she has, she fights very hard for the people of this district, and she's up in Washington right now.
Where's Deborah? I just had my picture taken with her. I mean, the jokes write themselves. When is the media going to take this seriously? They are endangering the United States of America by not alerting the American public to the fact that their president of the United States is this bad. I'm going to remind you every time we play clips like this over the next year, this is as good as it gets for him. It's his fifth public event in 27 days. And this is as good as it will get. His people, his chief of staff, Jeff Zients, and everyone else around him, they build up to this speech. They build up to this moment. They pump him full of whatever drugs they have to pump him full of to get him on that stage and to get him cogent enough to deliver a 15-minute address. I mean, joking's one thing, but this...
Appreciate it very much. I also want to mention Congressman Deborah Ross. Where's Deborah? I just had my picture taken with her. That's probably why she left. No, all kidding aside. Anyway, she couldn't be here, actually. That's not true. I got it mixed up.
I just had my picture taken with her. Where's Deborah? He wasn't joking. He wasn't joking. And then, then there's this.
Who remembers, during the pandemic when schools were shut down and the Sergeant First Class mentioned it, kids weren't able to attend school, so they go online. How many of you spent time in McDonald's parking lots tapping into their internet so you could do the homework with your kid?
What? I mean, I guess, maybe. What? Is that... What? And then he started touting his job creation programs.
440 new jobs in North Carolina alone just since I came back.
Did you hear what he said?
440.
440 new jobs.
Whoa! 440 jobs, Mr. President. Slow down.
You ever notice that every time they revise the jobs report down, that never gets mentioned?
But 440 jobs in North Carolina since he's been president, and he doesn't realize that he misread the teleprompter? I assume he meant 404. I don't know what lie he was telling. I don't know what fake number he was coming up with, but it wasn't 440, and he has no cognition that he said it wrong. No recognition whatsoever that he said it wrong. And so he gives a 10 or so minute speech in front of the assembled folks, and then he goes out and has a milkshake. He gave himself a reward. You know, hey, Joe, if you don't screw up and make poopy in your pants, we'll give you a milkshake after the speech. Okie dokie. We'll find out what Brian Wilson thinks about all of these things in just a moment. It's 49 minutes after the hour as we wind things down and hand off to the drive right after this on Super Talk. Winding down our portion of the broadcast day on the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Never you fear, we leave you in good and capable hands. Brian Wilson coming up with The Drive. Brian Wilson, what is going on, my friend?
Well, we're just trying to stay warm over here in bucolic Watertown. We've got the heater cranked up, and I'm very worried about the weather, quite frankly. I mean, we've got this situation right now where you have still some snowpack. And then it's right around freezing, and it's sort of raining or drizzling. It's the dreaded wintry mix, and that can be really bad. I mean, I feel like the weather, the road conditions could be exceptionally bad this afternoon. So we'll be watching that a lot today as we have a winter weather advisory. By the way, the wind chill factors, even though, let's see, I've got 31 degrees. Before the day is over, before we get to morning time tomorrow, temperatures, the wind chill factor be -10. So, yikes. I mean, this stuff can really hurt you. And I think we need to take it very, very seriously.
Well, and you mentioned it, right? I mean, snow, fine. Rain, fine. Wintry mix, that's a different deal.
That's the scary thing. When it's sort of on the cusp of rain or maybe ice, and it hits the ground. I mean, here in Watertown right now, 31. I think it's just above freezing in Nashville. So when wet hits that, and the roads are already very cold, you are in for a real problem. So, and again, we're just not very good at this here in Middle Tennessee. We're not really particularly good at clearing the snow, and we're not particularly good, God bless us all, in driving in the snow. And so, this is one of those days where you just need to sit by the radio and stay in if you can.
Well, you mentioned scary, and I want to play you this clip. I know you've heard it. I know you're on top of it, and I'm expecting that you'll be having some commentary on it during the drive. But just
Appreciate
this real.
Very much. I also want to mention comments to Deborah Ross. Where's Deborah?
Yes.
This year, I just had my picture taken with her.
He says he just had his picture taken with her. The only problem with that, Mr. Wilson, is that Deborah Ross was not there.
She was in Washington. That's right. Yeah. One of the things that I was struck by today, I did hear that soundbite, and I have it queued up, ready to go at some point during my show. But there was a reason for me to look up something old that he said back in 2020 about Hunter Biden's laptop, and I looked up that soundbite, and I got that soundbite. And when you watch Joe Biden in 2020, and he wasn't all that great then, and you look at him today, it is shocking.
Yes.
Shocking how much he has deteriorated into, maybe call it 3 years. And I'm just going, wow, this is scary, because this man is in charge of our nuclear arsenal, our military. He's our commander-in-chief. And he can't keep even simple facts straight or find his way off a stage. Americans need to be very afraid.
We are very afraid, and hopefully 2024 will bring us some better leadership. And I know we'll get a great commentary from Brian Wilson coming up in mere seconds. The music in the background means that Mac Morey's on the way with some news headlines, and right after that, it's The Drive with Brian Wilson this afternoon, getting us home safe and sound. I'm going to drive slowly, drive carefully, avoid the ice, and listen to Brian Wilson on The Drive on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Until tomorrow, folks, it's a First Amendment Freestyle Friday edition. Have a great evening. So long.